When Olivia's mother remarried, she never imagined her world would be flipped upside down. At 18, she was used to a life of comfort, not excess. But when her mother married Chief Edward Williams, a respectable business tycoon in Abuja, Olivia was suddenly thrown into a world of private chefs, bodyguards, and a mansion that felt more like a museum than a home. On her first day in the new house, Olivia stood awkwardly in the large living room, her eyes scanning through towering ceiling. Everything looked too perfect, too silent. Then he walked in. "Olivia, meet my son Jackson," Chief Edward said, putting his hand on Jackson's shoulder. Jackson was 19. He was tall, well-built, and carried himself with quiet confidence. His eyes locked with Olivia's, and for a brief second, it was as if the room had gone completely still. No greetings, no smile, just a look, deep and unreadable. They were introduced as step-siblings, expected to become family overnight. But Olivia could already feel something different stirring, something she didn't understand, something forbidden. That night, as she sat by her window, watching the lights of the city blink in a distance, Olivia found herself thinking about Jackson. She thought about his silence and the way he glanced at her during dinner, the way he didn't smile like everyone else. There was something about him that pulled her in. Down the hallway, Jackson stood in his room, staring at the same moonlight. "This house just got complicated," he said under his breath. In a mansion full of secrets, two hearts had already started to whisper to each other, quietly and dangerously. Olivia tried her best to adjust to the new life in the Williams mansion, but the tension she felt around Jackson grew even stronger. Every morning they passed each other in the hallway like shadows. Every evening they sat at the same dining table, barely exchanging words, but their silence was not empty. It was heavy, filled with glances that lasted a second too long, and polite conversation that avoided everything real. One afternoon, Olivia got lost trying to find the library. The house was like a museum with doors that led to more doors. Just as frustration crept in, Jackson appeared behind her. "You're looking for the library, right?" he asked, his voice low but kind. She nodded, and he gave a small smile. Walking past her, "Come on, I will show you." Inside the library, surrounded by tall shelves of untouched books, they found themselves alone for the first time. Jackson reached out for a novel on the top shelf and handed it to her. Their fingers brushed, and Olivia felt a shiver run down her spine. "You don't talk much," she said, trying to keep the moment light. "I talk when it matters," he replied, eyes steady on her. It wasn't what he said, it was how he said it. Like every word that came out of his mouth came with weight. She looked away quickly, but the silence between them was no longer awkward, it was charged. Later that night, as she lay on her bed, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about him, and down the hallway, Jackson sat at the edge of his bed, staring at the floor, lost in thought. He knew he shouldn't be having these feelings. Whatever was happening between them was real and dangerous, and it was just the beginning. Days rolled into weeks, and what began as curiosity had grown into something deeper. Olivia noticed how Jackson would always be nearby, never too close, but never too far. He started helping her adjust to life in the mansion, showing her secret corners of the house, sharing old memories from when he was a child. They laughed more now, teased each other, shared music and books, but the space between them still hummed with something unspoken. One night, during a blackout, the two sat on the balcony, watching the stars pierce through the city of Abuja. Jackson leaned forward, elbow resting on his knees. "Do you ever feel like none of this is real?" "All the time," Olivia replied, her voice soft. Their eyes met again, longer this time, more intense, and then slowly, Jackson touched her hair behind her ears. Olivia's breath caught. Time paused, but before anything more could happen, a helper walked past below, and the moment scattered. They jumped apart, guilt clouding their expression. They weren't related by blood, yet they were bound by something society wouldn't forgive. But the heart doesn't ask for permission. Rumors in the house began to stir. Staff members who were once friendly now gave side glances. Olivia noticed the change first. Hushed conversation that stopped whenever she enters the room. Whispers that floated in the air like perfume. One afternoon, she overheard two maids whispering near the laundry room. "I'm telling you, the way they look at each other is not normal. God forbid. They are step-siblings now. That thing is not right." These words pierced her like knife. She ran upstairs and locked herself in her room. Jackson knocked gently minutes later. "I heard," he said quietly through the doors. Olivia opened it slowly. "What are you doing, Jackson?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped inside and pulled her into a hug, the kind that says everything words can't say. They stood there lost in each other's arms until the house felt quiet again. But they knew the silence wouldn't last. Chief Edward was a man of precision. He noticed things others missed, like the sudden closeness between his son and new stepdaughter. At first, he said nothing, brushing it off as youthful bonding. But when he saw Jackson laugh during dinner at something Olivia said, something in him shifted. One evening, after Olivia had gone to her room, he called Jackson into his study. "You've changed," he said flatly. Jackson stayed quiet. "I know what I see, Jackson. Don't embarrass this family." Jackson's heart pounded. His father's voice carried weight, not only in the house, but in all of Abuja. Disobeying him came with consequences. Jackson nodded. "I understand, sir." But as he left the study, something tightened in his chest. It wasn't fear, it was anger. For the first time, he wanted something his father cannot control, and that something was Olivia. The rain came heavy that week. Olivia and Jackson found themselves indoor more often, lingering around each other and sharing spaces, speaking less but feeling more. One rainy afternoon, while everyone was out, Olivia found Jackson in the music room, playing the piano gently. She sat beside him. Their shoulders were brushing. "I wish we met differently," she whispered. He turned to her, his face unreadable. Would it have changed anything? She didn't answer. Instead, she leaned in and kissed him, soft, unsure, but real. They pulled away quickly, feeling guilty, but the longing between them was like the storm outside. But something had changed. A line has been crossed, and neither of them wanted to go back. But they didn't know a camera at the corner had captured it all. 2 days later, the chaos began. Chief Edward summoned both of them into the main sitting room, his laptop open on the center of the table. On the screen played a clip of their kiss. Grace, Olivia's mother, stood frozen, her hand trembling. "What is this?" Chief Edward shouted, slamming the table. "Under my roof? You disgrace me?" Olivia fell on her knees, weakening. "It's not what you think." "Shut up," he barked. "You are siblings now. Siblings." Then Jackson stepped forward and he said, "We are not blood, and I love her." The room fell silent. Grace began to cry. Chief Edward's face darkened like a storm. "You will stop this madness, or I will send you both far from this house. Don't test me." From that moment, life in the mansion shifted. Olivia was sent to Lagos to live with her aunt. Jackson was forced to attend a business internship in Port Harcourt. They were worlds apart, but their hearts had already tied themselves together. In Lagos, Olivia felt like a prisoner. Her phone was taken away. She had no access to Jackson, no one to explain or feel safe. Her aunt was strict and cold, a reflection of Chief Edward's iron will. Meanwhile, Jackson's life in Port Harcourt was worse. He was thrown into boardrooms and forced into silence. Any mention of Olivia was met with harsh stares and colder punishment. But love, true love doesn't die quietly. Olivia found a way to send a handwritten letter through her old driver. 2 weeks later, Jackson received it, hidden in his jacket pocket. After a long board meeting, he read the words that made his heart ache. They can separate our bodies, but not our hearts. I still love you, Jackson. Always will. Jackson smiled for the first time in weeks, and that night he wrote back. The letters became a lifeline, hidden, risky, beautiful. But everything changed when Olivia's aunt found one of the replies under her pillow. Chief Edward was furious. He stormed into Olivia's aunt's house the next morning, yelling and swearing. That night, Olivia was flown to the UK under the pretense of furthering her education. No goodbyes, no chance to fly back. Jackson only found out through the driver. They took her, the man whispered without warning. Jackson stood still for a moment. Then for the first time, he disobeyed his father completely. He packed a bag and left, leaving behind wealth, privilege, and control. He booked a flight to London. He didn't know where she was, but he was done with silence. It took 3 weeks and a miracle, but Jackson found her in a small university town outside London, walking out of the library on a rainy afternoon. Their eyes met across the street. Tears filled Olivia's eyes as she ran to him, dropping her books. "Jackson, I told you," he said, breathless. "They can't keep me away." The embrace, long and real, as the rain soaked them completely. Back in Nigeria, Chief Edward and Grace tried everything possible to convince them to stay apart, even offering money and threats, but this time their grip was too late. Olivia and Jackson eventually built a quiet life far from the noise. Their love burned in silence, survived storm, secret, and separation. It was wrong in the eyes of many, but to them, it was the only truth that ever made sense. But little did they know what was ahead of them. They didn't know the misery that they were putting themselves into. If only they knew they were related by blood. And that's what we will find out in the part 2 of this story. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please do well to leave a comment down below, like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, remain blessed.